It is done late last night. And regardless of what happens next, oh, hold on just a minute. Kenyans have a brand new English word. Regardless of what happens next, we have to analyze the political aftermath. Because, in my opinion, the political aftermath will make all the drama surrounding removing Rigathi Gachagua from the deputy presidency look like a picnic in comparison. And shortly, you will agree with me. And reason number one why this is the calm before the political storm is because this removal of Gachagua was personal. Oh yes. Now it is interesting that until this morning, I did not think this was personal. My view was, of course there must have been one or two issues that may border on the personal. But all in all, Rigathi Gachagua was removed because he had outlived his political usefulness. That is what I thought until this morning. But now, I have changed my position, and for many reasons. One of them is a tweet that went out very early this morning, 5 a.m., by a long-time close ally to Ruto, blogger Dennis Itumbi. If you go through that post, that tweet, you will see that this is very, very personal. Stay with me and I will give you all the very shocking details behind this story. But first, allow me a brief word on behalf of our sponsors for today's show. LemFi is an app very useful for sending money to your loved ones, and it has very many advantages. The best exchange rates in the market, no exorbitant fees, etc., etc. And you have a chance to try it out. And if you use my code, you will get a cashback reward. And therefore, I would urge you to give it a try. And then of course let me know how it goes. Just use the code KUMEKACHA. Okay? Definitely something worth trying out. Right! It quotes some things that Gachagua allegedly said behind closed doors. And it doesn't pull any punches. Hey, have you seen number 9? Nimemshika pale mahali na nitamfinya pole pole until he surrenders. That is Gachagua referring allegedly to what he is doing to President William Samoei Ruto, or what he was doing to him as he held the post of deputy president. What he was doing to the president. Nitafinya pole pole. Now, for the sake of those who don't understand Kiswahili, in English, you would say something like, he has the man by the... This is a family channel, guys. I can't finish. Anyway, I'm sure you get what I'm saying. By next year, I will be appointing cabinet secretaries. Kazi yake ni kutangaza tu. His work, referring to the president, will be to just make the announcements. Oh yes. This clearly shows this thing was very personal. Now I believe we all understand that when something is personal, it never ends. Because you do this, because one side makes their move to hit out at the other one, and of course the other side responds in kind, and then this other side says, no, I must up my game. And then they also do something else. And it just goes on and on and on. And therefore, this thing of Rigathi Gachagua, in my opinion, has not ended. It has just started. I dare add that this early morning move by Dennis Itumbi is not presidential. But then I have to admit, it is very consistent with the Ruto presidency, where we have seen many times the presidency not able to resist being vengeful. Okay? So it is consistent. However, still, it is not presidential. Because you have impeached the man. Move on. That is done. There is no need of going back to score yet another boxing point when your opponent is already on the floor. Knockout. But you still want another boxing point. Hey. What? Let us move on. Oh, by the way, before we move on, I believe there's a spelling error. I believe the word towards the end of number 4 is kuatafuta, not kuatatuta, which doesn't make sense. Number 2, the reason why there'll be a major aftermath, or rather a fallout, after this event of the impeachment, has a lot to do with the real reason why Rigathi Gachagua was impeached. Now, according to insiders, it was mainly because of something Gachagua said. Yeah, he opened his mouth and he said something. However, I don't agree. And for a very simple reason. Gachagua was talking like that because of something which happened earlier. In other words, he was provoked to start talking like that, which led to his impeachment. So what is this thing that happened that provoked Gachagua? What is it? Now please allow me to take you back in history so that we fully understand what we're saying here. And I'll take you back in history briefly to discuss another deputy to the president, at that time vice president, who was also removed in circumstances very similar to Rigathi Gachagua's. I'm of course talking about Dr. Josephat Karanja. You know the similarities between Josephat Karanja then and Rigathi Gachagua now are striking. For starters, both of them were from the mountain. Both of them belonged to the House of Mumbi community. Now Josephat Karanja was first elected into parliament in 1986 as the MP for Mathare constituency, today Kasarani. 2 short years later, he was the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya. In other words, he served for a very short time in Parliament before he climbed right up to the top as the second in command in the entire country. Now Rigathi Gachagua was a one-term legislator. He was MP only for 1 full term. And then the next election, poof, he was deputy president, second in command in the country. Now, the disadvantage in both cases is something called lack of experience. And believe you me, experience is critical for anybody who wants to survive as a deputy president. It is very important. Oh, experience. Because you need to know exactly how politics works on the inside. Because on face value, if you follow politics the way wananchi are following it, face value, you will crash. Dr. Josephat Karanja's problems started when he collided with the homeboys, you know, wale watu wa nyumbani, who were very close to Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, the then president. You see, Josephat Karanja was a former lecturer, in fact a vice chancellor of the Nairobi University. He was an intellectual. And here, surely we have to cut him some slack. Because what would Josephat Karanja really have to discuss with a man like Makto, or the illiterate Mulu Mutisia, or the other one, he was called Barengentung or something like that, what would Dr. Karanja have to discuss with such characters? I'm sure you get where I'm going with this one. And so, these very powerful people surrounding the president must have decided that they have to get rid of Josephat Karanja. And they will not stop. They are relentless. They will not stop until it is done. And they tried, and they tried, and they did not succeed. Moi was not a very easy man to convince. But one day, they had their breakthrough. Moi was out of the country, and Vice President Dr. Josephat Karanja was holding a routine meeting with some security personnel. Yeah, routine. It had been planned even before the president left the country. But when Moi returned to the country, the whole story changed. The story now became that while Moi was out of the country, the vice president called a security meeting without even informing the president, and held that security meeting with senior security personnel in the country without even informing the president. That was Josephat Karanja's Waterloo. That is what finished Dr. Josephat Karanja. That is what finished him. Kabisa. And of course the public was not going to be told that story. And it is instructive that the invented reasons were related, linked to the real reason. Or the vice president is always discussing with foreign powers. What is this they're always discussing? He wants to overthrow the government of Moi, security issue. Or the vice president is married to a foreigner, a Ugandan woman. This is sensitive, he handles sensitive government secrets. This could easily be leaked out to a foreign country related to security. Okay? Fast forward to the present. Now immediately I give you this reason, I want you to go back to that tweet by Dennis Itumbi, and it will become very clear to you. Okay? Rigathi Gachagua collided with the powerful homeboys surrounding the president over money. Over money and deals. I don't want to use that C word. I'm avoiding it deliberately. So that is what they collided over. Now in the case of Vice President Josephat Karanja, had he had the experience, he would have known that when he collided with these homeboys, the best thing to do was to humble himself. For his survival, the only option for him was to engage the reverse gear. Humble himself before these illiterates and semi-literates. But because Dr. Karanja did not have the experience, he had only been in politics, elective politics, for only 2 years. So how would he have understood? He fell into that trap. Same with Rigathi Gachagua. And I can totally understand why Rigathi Gachagua was so upset. You see, when Gachagua was fighting for survival and for the presidency with Ruto, being picked up by the DCI all the time, and all those troubles, these homeboys were nowhere to be seen. That is the naked truth. And even when they were campaigning for the presidency, these very powerful homeboys were nowhere to be seen. But immediately after they were sworn in, pop! The guys were there, and the guys were powerful. Even if it was you. Isn't that very annoying? Well, if Gachagua had the experience, he would have done everything in his power to control his emotions, to control his anger, and just humble himself before these very powerful homeboys. But is that what Gachagua did? No! He fought them violently, vigorously. And we can see what the result of that was. We saw it last night at the Senate. And so I have a question for you. Do you think that now that Gachagua has been impeached, he will forgive and forget? Do you think that is what he's going to do? I don't think so. And that is why, in my opinion, Gachagua will remain a problem, even out of office. Which is not good news for State House. Because Gachagua is not just an ordinary Kenyan. He knows things. He has been an insider. It is not going to be comfortable for the Ruto administration. The number 3 reason why there's definitely going to be a political fallout after the impeachment of Gachagua is in fact the elephant in the room. The Murema, the Mount Kenya region. You know, already we can see that the Mount Kenya region has been very restless, very angry during the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. In fact, we have seen several incidences where ordinary folks within the region have vented, shown their anger towards any politician from the region who was in support of the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. Now this is interesting because this is the old style of Kenyan politics that seems to be very difficult to shake off. Because this problem, as we have seen, started as a personal problem. It is personal, okay? Nothing of very little to do with official manenos, okay? But what started as a personal matter is now a regional matter. It is now a Mount Kenya issue. But that is the way things are. And believe it or not, that is exactly how things were in 1989 when Dr. Josephat Karanja was forced out of the vice presidency. And you don't have to believe me. Just look at the timelines. Josephat Karanja was forced out of office in 1989. The fight for multi-party, really the fight to remove Moi, picked up momentum which year? 1990. And we know it benefited greatly from the mountain joining the fight to remove Moi. Okay, because previously they had been suffering in silence. They were just quiet. But when 1990 arrived, they were ndani kabisa in the fight to remove Moi. Isn't it obvious that the removal of Josephat Karanja helped to trigger this shift, this very important shift in the ground that led to the fall of Kano in 2002. Okay? Now fast forward to the present. I'm sure you already know what I'm going to say. So far, the mountain has been suffering in silence. Okay? But surely, just like in 1989, don't you think there are some people somewhere saying, don't you think that there are some people somewhere who are definitely not happy and may do something that will shift the ground? Don't you think that is the case? You know, in 1989, there was a lot of murmuring chini ya maji that, oh, Moi is toying around with us as a community. Moi is showing us that we are nothing, that he can do what he likes. That is what people were saying. And history, as we keep on saying on this channel, history keeps on repeating itself over and over and over again. We have seen that. And so, regardless of what happens next, we can be sure that things are not going to be comfortable for the regime of President William Samoei Ruto. Yeah? All the political cards on the table tell us very clearly it is not business as usual. You know, recently on our Telegram forum, somebody was reminding me something I said either in late 2022 or early 2023 that at the time looked very ridiculous, very impossible. Ndoto ya mchana. He was reminding me that I said that shortly there'll be nothing like UDA in Kenya. Nothing like that will exist. At a party called UDA, it will be non-existent. Not even in East Africa. And I remember I said, maybe in Europe, there will be a party called UDA. Now, of course, at the time, that looked like a very ridiculous thing to say. How do you say that about the ruling political party? How? Politics doesn't work like that. Well, they were reminding me that what I said seems to be coming to pass. Now, there are some similarly ridiculous things which I say in my latest highly sensitive special report about what is going to go down in Kenya very, very shortly. And I had this feeling that a lot of us have still not taken in this highly sensitive but very instructive special report that talks about everything that is going down in Kenya right now and what we should expect and brace ourselves for very shortly. Of course, there are a lot of analysts who are saying exactly the same thing, but they're not being specific. What is this that is going to happen? Well, in my special report, I am very specific. And I point to the areas where it is going to happen. Okay? And now you have a golden opportunity, because I've returned this offer for a very, very short time. For those who missed this special report, the advantage here is that for only Kenya shillings 19.99, you'll also get all the other highly sensitive special reports that I've produced. It is all very revealing. And it will make things crystal clear for you. And you'll also get a lot of information. Now you can see details on your screens right now, repeated in the description area below this video on YouTube, and also in the comments area. I would highly recommend, if you're able to, I would highly recommend that you go for it. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.